and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan and it's time for me to share with you my final Gameweek 8 wildcard team. Now, I'm not wildcarding personally, but I know a lot of you guys are thinking about it. So if you are, this would be the team I would be running. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like. And we're on the road to 200,000 subscribers. Can you help me out? Check if you're subscribing right now. And if you're not, make sure you do it because we are so close, just 10k to go. Let's have a look at this team. Okay, so earlier on in the game week on Sunday, I put out an initial wildcard draft. Things have changed since then. We've got some injuries, we've had some price changes, and a big thing a lot of you guys said was the last one was too expensive, and I definitely do appreciate your comments. I do take on all feedback when you guys leave comments and stuff, so yeah, completely understand. Apologies for making a wildcard draft that was a little too expensive, so I have now built one that is under 100 million in value at time of recording, and the time of recording is 2 a.m. on a Friday, so we're putting in the grind here for this bonus video for you guys today. Let's start you off in goal with Turner. So yes, we are sticking with Turner as the goalkeeper. Two really nice fixtures. Crystal Palace is a fixture I really like because there's no Eze and there's no Edouard in the Crystal Palace team. So as long as Turner can keep his place in goal, this is going to be a very good fixture. And for Nottingham Forest, they're kind of a mid-table defense at the moment, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can produce over the next 2 game weeks because clean sheets are definitely on the cards for them. Let's move on into defense. We're going to actually go for Pedro Porro as the first defender here. He's 5 million, so he is a little bit more expensive than Udogie, but Porro is putting up much better attacking numbers over the last few game weeks, and I wonder if Porro could be that differential defender from Spurs that can bring you the prizes, bring you the joy, and bring you those just a few extra points ahead of your rivals just to make that little difference there. So Porro, definitely a little bit of a differential on Udogie, and some people are not going to want to take that risk, and if you want to save 0.2 million, that's absolutely fine as well. I think Udogie is a perfectly fine pick as well, but don't forget about Porro. Have a look at this one because the fixtures upcoming for Spurs arguably suit the defenders more than they do the attackers, certainly in the slightly longer term after the next 2 game weeks. So I would be having a very close look at Porro, a potential way to invest a little bit of extra money in that Spurs team. Let's move on to Matty Cash next, which is very nice indeed. Obviously, Aston Villa just played in Europe. Matty Cash actually didn't play the first half, so he got a nice rest. He played the second half and got an assist for the 1-0 victory. So Cash still maintaining his good attacking form. It would be nice to see Aston Villa keep some clean sheets as well. Wolves, not exactly the best attack in the league, but you never know what's going to happen there in a away fixture. But after that, we've got the likes of Luton and Nottingham Forest and some amazing fixtures after that as well. So Cash is going to be a super useful player. But remember, you are getting him mainly for his attacking threat. No defender right now is taking more shots, generating more XG, and getting into the box and looking like an attacker that is essentially a defender. He's the closest you're going to get really to a Trent Alexander-Arnold of old in terms of looking for a super attacking defender, and he's only 4.9 million, so a good price there as well. And we're going to complete the defense with Joachim Andersen. Yes, I know you don't see him in too many wildcard drafts at the moment, but a lot of people looking to bring him in after his great result against Manchester United last game week. Now, this isn't a knee-jerk. Please be aware this isn't a knee-jerk. The reason we're putting Andersen is because Crystal Palace are a very strong defense, and I feel like he rotates really well with some of my other defenders, and I'm going to show you at the end of this video the defender rotation that I've built for you guys today because it works really well, and it's hopefully going to mean that you don't need to make any transfers in the defense because you can just keep rotating these really nailed on defenders that could get you the odd attacking return as well. Especially Andersen, if we're looking at the Crystal Palace defenders, he is by far the best attacking threat. We've already seen that this season with a couple of goals to his name. So yeah, Andersen, he's really not such a bad pick. Don't bring him in because you think he's going to score the way he scored against Manchester United every game week, but he's a solid pick if you're looking for those clean sheets. And Nottingham Forest up first, a nice 0-0 victory with Turner and Andersen would work really well. The few games after that, Newcastle and Spurs, you would be looking to bench him, and I'll share it with you guys how that's going to work. But let's move on into midfield before we do that. We've got Salah up next against a Brighton team that just went full strength in the Europa League. Yeah, so they're going to be a very tired team. Once again, a poor first half performance for Brighton, and it's going to mean that Liverpool probably do quite well with them. Salah, of course, only played 45 minutes in the midweek, so that's pretty nice to see from him, which means he's going to be nice and fresh and ready to go for this game week. Obviously, Salah a little bit unlucky not to get attacking returns last game week, but this is a fixture that really suits him. On the counter-attack, creating for his teammates, and on those penalties, as always, that's always exactly very, very useful stuff. So I do think it is going to be worth spending a little bit of money on going for Salah. In a couple of game weeks' time, he has some amazing fixtures too. We've got the likes of Luton coming up very soon, where you might be thinking about captaining Salah in that situation as well. But before we do that, let's go to Son. So, since I released my last video last night, well, Son has finally trained, so that's really, really good news. Son is back on the training pitch, and it's going to mean that he's going to be perfectly fine, perfectly fit for this game week, which I'm very, very relieved about, to be fair, because there was a few concerns there. He was indeed just managing his workload by missing a couple of training sessions, but he's going to be absolutely fine. He's going to be starting against Luton, and I would imagine he gets at least 60 or 70 minutes against this team, which is going to be very nice. Well, the problem here, maybe to a degree, is that this is not exactly a Son fixture because Luton will sit back, but ultimately, I don't think Luton possess the quality or experience to really keep Spurs out. And Son, with the form that he's in at the moment, you would expect he grabs a goal or two in this game. So that's going to be very, very nice for all Son owners, new and old. Maddison up next, yes, with doubling up on the Spurs midfield here for this next couple of games. It's a really nice run of fixtures for Spurs over the next two, Luton and Fulham. So I would really recommend going in on at least one of these Spurs players. I would be looking to triple up on Spurs no matter what you do on a wild card, whether that's going for Porro, Udogie, Son, Maddison. You could throw in Richarlison in there as well, who I think is a really, really nice differential too. So, but Maddison, because he's on those set pieces, because he's taking a lot of shots from range, he's driving into the box a lot, and he's creating for Son, an elite finisher, it really does mean that Maddison is going to be one of the top picks for the next two game weeks. I'm really liking the look of him. Next up, we're going to put in James Ward-Prowse, and the reason I'm putting him in is for two reasons. Even though I don't love this fixture against Newcastle, one, I wanted to try and find someone a little bit cheaper to put in here because we need to cut down the budget. If you have a little bit more money than what's shown on screen, then maybe you can afford to upgrade Ward-Prowse. The player I would really like to have in this situation is actually Diaby. Yes, Diaby would be the player I would go for in this position, ideally, but I'm still not convinced that Diaby is going to be fit and available for Game Week 8, so it might actually be that we have to wait a week before bringing him in and maybe just rolling with Ward-Prowse for now. But Ward-Prowse, the great thing about him is that he is fixture-proof, and the benefit of this team is because you're not starting any Newcastle defenders, you could actually cheer on for West Ham to score a goal here, and Ward-Prowse is definitely going to be one of those players who is involved in the attacking returns, as he always is. We saw that kind of in the midweek. We didn't see it last game week in Game Week 7, but he was so close to getting attacking returns a number of times. Really good signs that Ward-Prowse is going to come on and continue to do really, really well and make that 6.3 million price tag look very, very silly. And we've got to finish off the midfield with a cheapie, and our cheapie in midfield is going to be Neto. He looks like the pick of the sub 6 million midfielders right now, so we're going to go for him. I like the look of these fixtures. Aston Villa, Bournemouth and Sheffield United in the next four. All of these are kind of weaker defences in the Premier League that we've seen so far. So I do really like the look of this fixture run for him. They have got that Newcastle game in, which is not ideal, but look, you might be actually thinking about making a transfer by that point. Game week 10 is when a lot of fixtures actually swing, so you'd probably be looking to maybe trade out Maddison and Neto for two more mid-priced midfielders there. Maybe you can go for Diaby and Mitoma, for example. That would be a really, really nice, affordable double midfield switch that you can make in Game Week 10 and take real nice advantage of. Aston Villa will have Luton in that game week, which would be pretty decent, and Brighton have decent fixtures from that point onwards as well. From Game Week 10, Brighton's fixtures look a whole lot better. Really good time to jump in on them. So really with Neto, we're looking for a 2-game week punt to see how he can do. If you end up keeping him, that's absolutely fine, but Neto has been the pick of the bunch from Wolves at the moment, although Hwang Hee-chan could also be a tempting one. He's been showing some interesting form recently as well, if you wanted to go a little bit differential there. But I think Neto is probably the sensible pick in midfield. Let's move up front. This draft is a Erling Haaland draft. Yes, I'm not prepared to remove him from any of my drafts right now. I know a few of you guys are. You don't like the look of this Arsenal fixture, but when I look at Brighton, Man United and Bournemouth after that, I'm just thinking, yeah, these are good fixtures. These are really, really good fixtures for him. And I imagine he'll be back as like the #1 captain pick for those 3 game weeks. But for now, yeah, definitely I understand that Arsenal is not an ideal fixture. Saying that, he's still done well against Arsenal last season. He is still Erling Haaland, and he's still going to be an absolute beast no matter what game he plays. So still have a reasonable amount of confidence in him, even in this difficult fixture. And then after that, he goes back to being a must-own all over again. So if you're on a wild card, it's going to be very difficult if you remove him and try and bring him back in again. It's just going to be tough to do that, a waste of transfers, and it's going to take several transfers to restructure him in and out. So I am definitely still in the Haaland camp. Keep him in your teams. He's still going to be a really useful FPL asset. I'm going to finish off this first 11 with Ollie Watkins. Yes, we've managed to squeeze in Ollie Watkins into this team as well and keep the team value under 100 million, which I'm pretty happy to be able to do that. There is obviously the big sacrifice in Kieran Trippier, and I feel like that's probably going to be the biggest debate in the wildcard teams. You basically have to choose one of Watkins or Trippier. You can't really have them both. Now, Trippier offers you a lot, don't get me wrong, but the thing is with Watkins is that the downgrades of Watkins is like Darwin or Alvarez, and you can only really save yourself a maximum of 1 million by making that downgrade. By downgrading Trippier, you can save yourself up to 2 million, maybe even more, depending on who you're downgrading him to. So there's a lot of better ways to free up cash and spread it more evenly throughout your team if you sacrifice Trippier compared to Watkins. And Watkins, let's all be honest, despite the fact he hauled, I don't think it's a knee-jerk. I still think most people would agree that with this upcoming fixture run, Watkins is the best Aston Villa player to own and the best forward player to own as well. So that's why he makes the team, even at 8 million. He's going to be very, very popular in the upcoming game weeks, and we've got some really nice fixtures coming up as well. They're pretty much all green fixtures for an attacker if you're playing for Aston Villa over the next 6, 7, 8 game weeks. So lots of things to love about Watkins. Let's bring up the bench, guys. We've got Areola, first of all. Against Newcastle, I would prefer to play Turner. We've got Dan Bird, yes. So Burn is the other rotation defender. You guys thought I was making a draft with no Newcastle defenders in this team? No way. You've got to have at least some Newcastle defensive coverage, in my opinion. And Burn at 4.6 million seems like the guy to go for right now with Botman injured. Trippier so expensive. And yeah, I pretty much just go there, to be honest. We've got Charlie Taylor here as well and Mubama. Mubama's there just because he's 4.3. And I think it's fine to have a 4.3 million forward in your wildcard draft if you have that one playing defender, because in the worst case scenario, you have got Burn there on your bench to come on and play. It's not going to matter too much. He's still a decent pick, so you don't really need an Archer to come on for his 2 pointers, you know. We've got Taylor here as well at 3.9. I know a lot of people will be opting to go for Lamptey with a Stupinian injured, and they'll be looking to go for maybe Lascelles as well. But realistically, you're only going to get 2, maximum 3 game weeks out of those 2 players, and Taylor is going to be hopefully a more nailed on player for a much longer period of time. So you can keep him there. He's going to be useful for a long time. He doesn't take up a valuable slot of your Newcastle and Brighton players. So I feel like I still would move towards Taylor. And you're going to see in the defender rotation that I'm going to show you shortly that actually Taylor is a player you can potentially play 1 or 2 game weeks over the next 10 or 20. So it really is going to mean that you don't need to make any transfers to your defenders unless you get a suspension, unless you get an injury. Even that, you still probably be fine because you do have enough cover on the bench there. So we've got a really nice defensive rotation. Before I show you that, I'm going to say captain on Son at this moment, just because we've now found out that he is fit. So captain on Son, but I would really be tempted by Salah. We're going to put the vice captain on him. I'm still undecided of what I'm going to do in my own team. I'm going to suggest to you guys Son for now, because I feel like it is the safest. I think most people will be going for Son, but please let's not rule out Salah. I still think he could be a really, really good captaincy shout for this game week. Also, don't want to rule out Maddison or Haaland entirely, but Salah and Son is where my mind is going right now for captaincy. So let me know what you think about that one. So, as promised, we're going to show you the rotation between your defenders for the upcoming game weeks and show you how it works exactly. We're on the Fantasy Football Hub My Team tool, as always. Yeah, like you guys know, this is yeah, just my favorite tool for doing this stuff. It's just really, really useful. And if you want to check this out, you can do so absolutely for free. Links down in the description. So, obviously, we know our Game Week 8 defenders, Anderson, Porro, and Cash. But if we move on to Game Week 9, we can start seeing that we're starting to switch things things up. So Burn will come in for that Crystal Palace game, leaving Anderson on the bench. Moving on into game week 10, we're going to go with Cash, Burn, and Porro once again because Anderson has another bad fixture against Spurs. But then we're going to move on, and then Anderson comes back in because that's the game week that Burn plays against Arsenal, and then Anderson plays against Burnley. So you've got a nicer fixture there. We'll keep on moving on, and you can see it's kind of a little, this week, game week 12 is kind of up to you in many ways. I'm not really sure which way I would go with it, to be honest. They've already got good fixtures, so I guess I would back the attacking players, Cash and Porro, for the attacking returns. And it's going to kind of be up to you, Anderson or Burn. Both of them work pretty well. Moving on into the following game week, we would be back on these three, Burn, Porro, and Anderson, because Cash plays against Spurs. Game week 14, this is where finally Charlie Taylor gets a game. Yes, Porro plays against City, Anderson plays away against West Ham. So it maybe means that Taylor at home against Sheffield United, despite just being a 3.9 million defender, actually could be pretty useful to you. So you could obviously go there as well. And we could basically just continue on as you like, and these three just rotate pretty well, where you're always going to have three players with a decent fixture, and maybe one of them doesn't have such a good fixture, but you can still rotate them really nicely there. So yeah, I really do like this rotation. The team rating on this bad boy is a 96%, so a pretty high team rating in general. And yeah, it's a team that just kind of works. And like I said, there's a nice double transfer move, I think, with Neto and Maddison. Like, for example, if we move to game week 10 here, and then we remove Maddison and we remove Neto as well, and we can replace them with Mittelmar and Diaby, for example. That, I think, is going to be absolutely fantastic, because look, you can see here, guys, Fulham at home for Mittelmar, Luton at home for Diaby. That's in a game week where Spurs play against Crystal Palace away, which I think is going to be a slightly tough fixture for them. Yeah, it's a really nice double transfer. So you probably wouldn't be looking to make a transfer in game week 9, game week 10, make a double move similar to that. Originally, I would have probably said this would be a week to bring in Purvis and Stupinian, but he's probably going to be injured for game week 10, to be fair. Maybe back by game week 11. And yeah, I mean, guys, just look at this. You've got your triple Aston Villa for game week 10. You've got invested in Brighton for their amazing run of fixtures. You've still got the big hitters of Salah, Son, and Haaland. Watkins continues to have great fixtures, and the defensive rotation, as we know, is sorted. As is the goalkeeper rotation, by the way, guys, because you're going to obviously be rotating Areola and Turner. Overall, I think it is a solid team with a solid plan behind it. I think that is a lot that we need to think about when doing our wildcards. It's not just about picking a bunch of players that are good. It's about picking players that complement each other, work together well, they rotate well. There is obviously easy transfer routes that you can go from, you know, transfer plans, or at least rough transfer plans that you can set yourself that I think really work really well. And I wouldn't be able to plan all of this without this tool. So again, massive shout out to Fantasy Football Hub, link in the description. It's really useful for creating your team, building a team, and also planning it out for future game weeks of what kind of moves you can make, what's going to work really well. And the best thing is, for this entire video, I was pretty much just clicking the optimize button, which is down here at the bottom there, just to show me automatically who is going to be the best defenders to play in each game week. It does it all for me, so super useful like that as well. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, make sure you drop a like. We are still on the road for 200,000 subscribers, so make sure you hit that button if you haven't done already. But aside from that, you can check out my team from yesterday in this link here. Make sure you check it out. It's my team. I'm showing you what I'm doing there. But yeah, aside from that, thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.